Hi, in this video we are going to show you how to cut out patterns for your volunteers. So everyone should have received a pattern from Dana. She was sending them to all of the offices, and so if you haven't got it yet, it should be coming, and so you will have a pattern to get started with. So first thing is you've got to have some paper to cut out your pattern. If you can get paper that's 40 inches or wider, that is ideal because you do need exactly 40 inches for the width. The tie goes out a little bit further. So, probably 41 would be good, but 40 you could certainly scrape by with. And if you're not so fortunate to be able to get a wide roll of paper, we got it from Jen's dad, who worked for an envelope company. So printing companies will have wide rolls of paper like this, so maybe you could see if somebody where you live might be willing to donate you a roll. But if you can't find the wider or it's too expensive to order it, you also had the option. What we did before we found this paper was we used 24-inch wide paper that we found online. And then you just had to tape two 24 inches together so it was wide enough for your pattern. I ordered this particular paper. It was from Hewlett Packard, and it was called a bond paper. I ordered it from LexJet, and it was about $14 for a 24-inch by 100-foot roll. I think it was 100-foot. So anyway, around $14 was the best price I found. So if you're looking for it and you can't find a good price, you can always get in touch with us. Okay, so we're going to get started. So I already cut off of the roll here so that I am ready to cut out a pattern. So the first thing we want to do is we want to clip and tape the pattern down so it doesn't move when we're cutting. I'm going to use these little things called Wonder Clips that people use in sewing because I happen to have some. But if you don't have those, everybody I think has these little clips that you use in the office. And you can certainly use those too. So on the 60-inch flat side of the pattern, I'm going right to the edge of the paper and I won't even cut this side of the pattern. And I'll clip that on so it doesn't move. Okay. Now that I have that side clipped, I'm just going to tape a few points to keep the pattern from wiggling around while I'm cutting. And as you're taping the pattern down, don't worry about the tape being on the pattern because when you cut around, you're going to cut it off, so it won't really matter. Okay, so now that we have it clipped down so it won't wiggle around while I'm trying to cut it out, I'll go ahead and start cutting. The first thing I'm going to cut out here, this is going to be the neck of the gown. So I'm going to cut this little cutout here. And if you don't cut it perfectly, don't worry about it. If you don't go around the corner exactly round, it really isn't going to matter. Just get close. And then the other thing too is I'm just cutting out one to show you. But you could certainly roll out several sheets of paper, stack them on top of each other, and probably, whatever your scissors will go through, you could maybe cut out 5 at a time, 10, whatever your scissors will cut through nicely. So that saves a lot of time when you're making a lot of patterns for a lot of different volunteers. And another nice thing about cutting it away from the roll is instead of me running around the table, I can just spin the pattern around to cut it out. Every now and then you notice I might cut a little bit of the pattern. Doesn't really matter. When you're cutting this part, this is the tie of the gown, so if you cut a little bit wider, narrower, it's not going to be a big deal at all. Because this is just what they're using to tie the gown around them. I have a little bit of extra paper here. You can choose to cut it off or leave it. If you leave it, it just makes the gown a little bit longer. And if somebody gets the gown and they're extra short, when they get the gown, they could always just trim the bottom off. So when I have a little bit of extra, I just usually tend to leave it there. Okay, so now that we have the pattern cut out, everybody, when you received a pattern, you noticed that there was instructions taped on the pattern. And so it would look like this. So once you cut the pattern out, we're going to attach a PDF to the video of the printouts we have for the instructions. So if you want to use those, you can just print them, cut them out, and tape them down. So once you get that done and you have all the instructions, it tells you put it on the 16-inch fold line. It tells you cut out the neck here. It just tells the person this is the tie for the gown. And then the other thing that you also want to do, and this gives you, I'm going to move this pattern so you can see it a little bit better, is this point right here, you want to fold it to right to this corner, and you want those two to meet. And that's the part that you don't worry about lining up the rest. If you have those two to meet, then you just go along and press down to make your fold line. And then that is going to be the sleeve of the gown. And then this instruction uses the packing tape. This is where they tape the sleeve closed. So this is the side where that instruction would go on when the volunteer gets it. So once you have that all done, you want to have a way to deliver it to the volunteer that the pattern will stay in one piece, not get ruined, and hopefully be able to use multiple times for as long as they're making them. So what we have here is we have a mailing tube. We bought these from Uline, and they're 48 inches tall and they're 2 inches wide, and that was the most economical one for us to find and fit the pattern in. I found if you start from this end when you're rolling it up, that it's easier to get a better roll and to keep it tighter. So the first thing I do before I roll it up is I just take this tie and I fold it up there flat. And then the main thing is when you start rolling, try to start the roll as tight as possible. And then just keep it as tight as possible the whole way that you're rolling up so that it will fit into the tube. So we roll the pattern up. And if I do a good job, I'll get it on the first roll. And then when you get to this part, okay. If it happens to tear, just get a little bit of tape and tape it. So we will do that. It started to tear here, so I'm just going to tape that. Okay. We'll try that one more time. Okay, and remember the key, keeping it tight. And then as you get to this other length, you just kind of want to make sure that that curls around. This part, I want it to be flat when I roll over it. And then again, I'll just kind of tuck it around here as I'm rolling. And then, all you have to do Start with the end that's narrow is usually a little bit easier. Keep a good hold on it until you get it all the way in so it doesn't uncurl on you. And then your tubes will have end caps. They're a little tight to get on, but if you put it on a table and just push down hard, they'll go right on. So you basically put the end caps on, and you've got a pattern that's ready to give the volunteer. And when they're done using the pattern, they have somewhere to put the pattern that it doesn't get ruined. And that's it.